right, we're all set. Microphones, productions, everything is good?
I think so.
All right, that was a very long production meeting.
Yeah.
I wasn't sad. Okay, let's see. You ready for a countdown?
Ready for a countdown.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back, friends. Good morning and welcome to The Jersey Alchemist. I'm your host, Dr. John Gerard Galucci.
And I'm Philip D'Angelo.
What's happening, bro?
Not much. Another day. Here we go. In the salt mines, we're working, we're hustling, we're grinding. We're doing what we have to do in New Jersey to survive.
Drinking my third coffee.
You're drinking your third coffee. You
Right.
cannot stand still in New Jersey. There's just no way it could happen. Because you know what? They will run over you. They will step over you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to keep moving in Jersey because the line it's moving, it's going. So every day is like
The line is moving. It's going.
every day it's like frantic. Get up and go. You
Yeah,
know, no
that's
matter
true.
what time you get up in the morning. What time did you get up today?
Well, remember now, I don't go to the hospital to work anymore, so I was up at 7.
All right, 7's a decent hour. I
Yeah.
call that afternoon.
Well, of course you do, yeah.
But
It
yeah,
is for me too.
yeah. But if I get up early and you go, and God forbid I get 30 minutes, 20 minutes, you sleep because I don't set an alarm clock. I never have. But I'll tell you what, you're like, oh my God, now I'm behind, and you just seem like you never catch up. There's always somewhere to go. Somebody will call. I need this. You need that. And before you know it, it's 2 in the afternoon, 4 o'clock. Sit down to dinner, and I don't know about you. At my age, 61, it's over. 8 o'clock, I'm done.
Well, what time do you get up again?
4 o'clock.
Yeah, I mean, if you stay, if you pass a certain threshold, all of a sudden you catch a second wind. Now you're a little bit hungry. You're going to the fridge or work, and all of a sudden it's 10, 11 o'clock. And if you got to get up at 4, you're screwed. You screwed yourself.
It's over, you
Yeah.
know. And your body, I'll tell you what, the human body, it's definitely adapts, conforms, whatever you want to call it. Whatever you do to your body, how you treat your body is how it's going to react. So if you shut it down at 8 every day, guess what? No matter how good you're feeling, I could be in the middle of a sentence, I think, at 7:59 and 59 seconds. When it hits 8 o'clock, I just go like this.
I think that's good. That's a
And
good
it's
thing.
over.
That's a good thing. You've conditioned yourself.
Yeah, but
know?
I'd like to enjoy life. There's a whole world going on after 8 o'clock, and I don't get to see any of it. You know, last night I tried to watch the Ranger game. Okay,
Who
and they not the Rangers, Canadians won 4-3.
Abs.
The Habs, and I just couldn't watch it. It was over.
Oh, well.
Thank God for reruns because the TV stays on all night, and they keep replaying the same stuff all the time. So at about 2:30, I saw the rest of the game. You know, but that's
Right.
the way it is. You know, falling asleep, you stay up late, right? You're a night owl.
I am.
Wow.
Unfortunately, yeah.
You
I
know?
mean, it served me through my career as a pediatric surgeon, but now it's a plague. Now it's like
yeah.
I can stay up for no particular reason. I can stay up all night.
I really want to go further on that in a little bit, but I noticed our guy in the back there. Very.
Well, I should have introduced you first, but he's a new employee. Not really, but that's how we're playing it.
Yeah.
We had to get rid of celebrity chef Bones. He called HR on us. He called HR on us again. I think this was the 4th time in like 2 weeks. And finally HR turned it around on us and said, "Hey, listen, bud, you know what? Your claims are unfounded. That's it." And they showed him the door. They didn't kick him down the steps like I threatened, but they wheeled him to the front door and wheeled him across the parking lot.
Mhm.
And I hope he's not still out there, but maybe some kid took him and wheeled him home. Maybe he's in somebody's garage. But this is Major Bones reporting for duty, sir.
Wow.
Right. And so far, so good on Major Bones.
Yeah. No drama.
Yeah, I have a lot of good intent and good feeling. A lot of
He looks good in the camo. I mean, really.
And I know he's got very high level of ambition, and I think, I'm hoping and praying that Major Bones is here to stay.
Well, I think so. Let's hope so. Major Bones, it's pretty impressive, especially with what's going on. Do you know anybody who serves in the military, John? Anybody's kids? Or...
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
How are they doing? Are they deployed? Are they in the United States?
Well, I'm not privy to a lot of that. I had friends that came right out and told me that you'll never know where I'm going to be when I'm there. And I just took that as a, okay, well, I'm kind of a don't ask, don't tell type
Yeah.
policy.
I know a couple friends who their children are in the armed service, and the training they do on a daily basis, especially if you're some kind of specialist, it is amazing how they're always preparing in certain weather conditions, always testing. They're always testing themselves. So
Right.
when they have to be battle ready, they are battle ready. And you're right, they could be anywhere in the world. We just don't know.
Right.
You know,
Right.
especially now with what's going over in the Ukraine. Did you hear Russia stopped the fuel, the energy, oil to Poland? Yeah.
Well, I didn't hear about it. I saw it on a kind of a news reel on the internet, and I was like, all right, like, where is this going? It always, like, whenever something like this happens on a global or international level, I always wonder, is this something that's been in the pipeline for years and now they're just implementing it? Because that's how I think, because more often than not, the things that happen to humanity at the say-so of the globalist have been planned and in a pipeline for many years. And then they pull them out of their closet, blow off the dust and say, it's time for this boogeyman, it's time for that boogeyman, it's time for this, it's time for that.
Well, I think the news is reporting because Russia wanted to be paid in rubles for the first time, if that's correct, and
I think I heard that.
they were refused.
Well, maybe Putin is trying to subvert the International Monetary Fund. I think that's who it is, or no, the World Economic Forum via Klaus Schwab. Those guys have tagged China to be the next world globalist leader superpower and have most likely tagged their currency to be the world currency reserve. What is that? That's what the US dollar's been shortly after World War II. And we used to be on what was called the gold standard. And I want to correct a statement that I had made in a previous episode that I said that FDR took us off the gold standard. No, he didn't. He did not. No. What FDR did was issued a law that said it was illegal to own gold. And so the government confiscated everybody's gold.
That's unbelievable.
And to be honest, yeah, right. Can you imagine an immigrant coming from, just pick a country, whose great-great-grandmother had gold necklaces or rings, and maybe they had a whole bunch of it, because I have friends that told me they had a suitcase of family gold that was handed down to them. And FDR made it all illegal, and you had to hand it in. And the promise was that you're going to get, US dollar, the proper amount for the going spot price of a troy ounce of gold. So the numismatic value, the beauty value, the ooh-ah value of great-grandma's necklace didn't matter, it didn't count. The sentimental value meant nothing. So if you had 2 ounces in total of gold or 22 ounces of gold, you were going to get the going price in US dollars, Federal Reserve notes. And almost immediately after they called off what I would call the confiscation, they reissued and revalued the price of an ounce of gold, and I think it doubled in value. As soon as everybody's gold was confiscated, it was like, well, it's not worth 10,000 anymore, it's 20, and we screwed you because we got your gold and you've got paper. So people, oh my gosh, here's another topic that's going to drive me nuts. Don't let this happen anymore. So FDR didn't take us off the gold standard monetarily. No, he confiscated people's gold. And then there are going to be the FDR, aficionados who say, no, he didn't. No, no. Oh, no. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Maybe he didn't go around door to door, with a team of henchmen saying with a sack, okay, yeah, dump grandma's gold into this sack
Mm.
or else. Of course, he didn't do that, but he sent his people out to collect, or more likely, he threatened people with it's illegal. And they probably made examples of a few people, and so they got people to show up at centers where you turn your gold in. That just blows my mind. In '72, tricky, tricky Richard Nixon, right?
Yeah, Tricky
Tricky
Dick.
Dick.
Tricky
Tricky
Dick.
Dick. He's the one that took us off the gold standard and put us on the petrodollar standard. And at that point, the US dollar was completely solidified as the world currency reserve. And what did that mean? That means if you wanted to buy oil from Russia and you were any given country, you had to convert your dollars to US dollars and then buy it from Russia. It's interesting that Putin apparently, is now saying, no, we'll sell you the oil, but it's got to be bought in rubles.
Wow, that's amazing, right?
Yeah.
The FBI director, Wray, was also up at testifying in front of Congress the other day, and he was talking about the biggest threat to the United States of America is
White males?
no, that's another time. But he actually said China. You know how everybody's hot on Russia, and it's always been Russia is the big bad devil, and which they are. But now it's China. He came out and said it in a congressional hearing, which is pretty amazing. Of course, nobody really reported it. You know, if you're not watching certain TV stations, you don't really see that. But
Right.
I saw it. I was like, wow, China. That's a big deal.
Well, you know what I think that the mainstream media and the political world has made it, they've normalized the fact that three-letter agency personnel are liars and perjurers. So then it's like getting an actor taking the stand in a trial. All bets are off. If people in the FBI were lying and taking part in a phony, contrived dossier
Hmm.
to politically kill someone, not literally kill them, although they would have liked that too, then who do you trust? Where do you go? Where do you trust? These truly are, in your words, end times.
Wow. You know what? So many wounds to this young, and we are young country, United States of America. So many wounds are self-inflicted. I mean, how much can this? It's amazing how strong as a country, how much we can take from within. That just seems like you said, politicizing those three lettered agencies. I mean, so they don't work for the people anymore. They're working for an ideology or a special group. I mean, just part of the population. I mean, it's pretty bad. Self-infliction.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Right. And so, but where does it? It's like confetti that all goes up in the air, or it's like the soot from a volcano that explodes and it goes up into the atmosphere for miles and it circles the globe. And when it finally settles down, what's the bottom line with all of this crap? It's kind of like the bank making a mistake in your favor. When's the last time that's happened to you?
That would be never.
Yeah, right. So the bank generally has never made a mistake in my favor. No. As a matter of fact, they're all over you and your affairs, so that if a mistake is going to get made, it's going to be in their favor. And where am I going with this? It's that whole concept of, are you here to be in service of yourself, or are you here to be in service of others? And I will reference the work that's on the internet called The Law of One. Very interesting stuff. If you've not heard of it, if you don't know what it's about, Just look up the law of one. It's kind of fabulous. And these are rules to live by. But the one that sticks in my head the most is we're in spiritual warfare. These are my words, not the law of one. And here comes the law of one. People who are here to be light workers, people who are here to be spiritual warriors, are here in service of everyone. Everyone except themselves. So you might say that they're all sacrificing themselves and their efforts and their lives for the good of humanity. Sounds familiar to me. Sounds very familiar to me, sure. And I think that that's what Jesus was. Jesus didn't come here to gain money, fame, fortune, and control. No. No, no, no. Jesus was here in service of the Creator and then in service to his brothers and sisters. Right. And I'll repeat this, that when the Pharisees questioned Jesus, trying to trick him always, and said, oh, which are the greatest commandments? He said, there are two. He took one from Deuteronomy and one from Leviticus, and it's, of course, number one was love God above all others with your heart, strength, mind, and the other one was to love your brothers and sisters as yourself. Seems simple, and it seems like via the law of one, if you're here in service of others, then those two dictums, those two commandments, follow suit pretty well. But if you're here in service to yourself, then you would naturally be inclined to be, you'd run to the dark side. You would be so thrilled to enter into an agreement to be part of a dark agenda where tons of money would be kicking back in your direction. And this is who's running the world right now. Think about that. This is who's running the world. Do you think that the people that are doing what they're doing to this planet, do you think they're here in service of others? Seriously? You really want me to answer that question? Come on. You know the answer. So get with it. Get with it. Decide. There's no more time, people, to be fence sitting. You know who's a fence sitter? Mike Pence. It rhymes with fence. I should call him Mike Fence. He's a fence sitter. That's Mike Pence. No, come on, grow a pair of potatoes, buddy, and choose. Don't trust that guy for a second.
John, Mike Pence, in my opinion, is just part of the established.
Of course he is.
I mean, you know, he's part of the establishment. I mean, recently there's been tapes. It's amazing how all these phone conversations always get leaked, and they always end up hurting one side, and it's never the other side. But the congressional leader, the minority whip, what's his name? The one who's going to take over if Pelosi loses. Oh, we should both know. This guy from California, the congressman. He just was releasing tapes. Him and Steve Scalise.
I know you're talking about. I can't remember his
the
name.
two of us. This is what happens. Right. You get old, you know. And now here it is, a Republican. I hate to even say either one. Whatever party he is, doesn't matter. But he's talking about his party, and he's talking about the leader of his party. And you know, is he talking about himself and his political aspirations, him and Steve Scalise, or are they, you know, worried about the will of the people? I mean, it doesn't seem to me like he's worried about the will of the people. That's for sure.
Which national level politician do you believe really is transparent and has the will of the people front and foremost?
Well, I hate to say it. In my opinion, I've only seen one in my lifetime.
She?
No, it was he.
Oh, okay.
It was our last president.
Oh.
In my opinion,
Yeah.
whether you love him or hate him, I mean, with flaws and all, I mean, nobody's perfect in this world. He was the last guy. He just seemed to me like, you know, he was not in it for any, you know, political, financial.
You know what? The only thing that I could say and express about 45, one would think he didn't do it for money, but you never know, because a drunkard wants another drink of wine, and a politician wants a vote, and a billionaire wants his second $1 billion. And then if you had 3 billion, you want 10 billion. If you got 10, you want $100 billion. So, you know, with some people, the way the world goes round, it's just a matter of them never having enough. I don't know what to say about 45, other than look at the collateral logic. The collateral logic was that the entire mechanized, automated tech world was stacked up against him. And when you realize that that's true, you got to stop and scratch your head and say, this is all about a video of him getting on a bus saying, grab her by the... No, it can't be. It can't be that. Is it really all about him making fun of a reporter? Well, he shot himself in the ass on that one. He shouldn't have done that. He came across really, really harsh. But to muster that kind of hatred against yourself, there's something else. There's something else that, you know, as an agenda, that just use your own intuition, figure it out. If he said he was going to drain the swamp, and everybody that was apparently part of that swamp, swimming in that swamp, including Robert De Niro, came out violently against him, but were they censored? No, they weren't censored. No, they could say all sorts of terrible things. No, but if we want to express ourselves, we get censored, we get a video taken down, we get torpedoed. Yeah, I had my first video. We had our first video taken down. And, you know, I knew it was coming, but there are certain topics that you just are not allowed to discuss. And
It was a health issue. We'll leave it at that.
it was a health issue topic. And doesn't matter that I've been a physician since 1990. Doesn't matter. As a matter of fact, that makes me all the more dangerous to the going narrative. If I were, I don't know, a bagger at the grocery store, they might care less than if I mouthed off about certain issues, because I'm probably a bit more of an influencer than the bagger at the grocery store. Maybe yes, maybe no. I don't know. But it didn't feel good to have a video that we worked very hard for torpedoed and removed. But the way I look at it is, and there's that old expression, you know, when you're flying a bomber and your payload is the mother of all bombs, and you're over the target, they're going to try to shoot you down before you get over that target. If you weren't over the target, they would just kind of wave at you, goodbye, go ahead, go. So I feel as though we've been appropriately recognized. You know, it's kind of like a throwdown. And I'll remind you of the chapter in my book, Montreal, the City of My Heart, when I walked through Montreal at 3 o'clock in the morning and it was pitch black, and I came upon one store with blinding bright lights in the windows at 3 o'clock in the morning on a cold, pitch black, dark street. And they had 3 levels of spiritual armor, bronze, silver, and gold. I knew I was taken there. That was a vision meant for me. Which one would I wear one day? Well, any would be good. Top shelf, baby. Top shelf is for me. And you know something? You might as well shoot for the top shelf. Wear that golden spiritual armor, people, because nothing in your 3-dimensional life is really worth it. You either fight for the side of the light or you're complicit with the dark. Don't be foolish. It's time to decide, people.
I think, John, what deters a lot of people from fighting for the light or standing up for themselves or standing up for what they believe is right, the difference between right and wrong, is like nowadays it just seems like there's so many people on the wrong side. I mean, it looks like the numbers are just, weighed against you. I mean, it's 2 to 1, 3 to 1, 4 to 1. There's so many dark people out there and dark organizations and dark, everything that
Yeah.
it's like, wow. And I think that kind of pushes people back a little bit because not everybody's brave enough to, like you say, the whack-a-mole, to stick their head out of the ground and say, hey, listen, that's not right.
I'll tell you how I see that, and I think that you're 1,000% right. Okay. Um, if you had a field and you cleared that field, kind of like a farmer would clear a field, and then you tilled the soil so that it was ready for planting, and you planted rows of whatever crop you thought you were going to grow, right? If you didn't tend to that field,
Mhm.
what would the field look like in 4 weeks? What would it look like in 8 weeks? What would it look like by the end of the summer? And I can tell you because I'm a backyard farmer. I think you know, and most of the viewers know. Your field is going to be an overgrown jungle of weeds and thistles and thorns that will choke out your intended crop. So that's a metaphor for what happens to people who are blue pillars, and they've been in that blue pill pipeline uh, from a generational standpoint for 300 years. For 300 years. Do what you're told. Don't question authority. That's a blue pillar. Now, there's nothing necessarily wrong with being a blue pillar. I would say 2/3 of the people in my family are blue pillars. But the blue pillars don't want to hear what you have to say if you're a red pillar. So that's how I see that issue. About, there are so many people that are just comfortable sitting in the dark side. I think those are the people that live by default, and they're not here. They're not here to change the world. And
They're waiting for somebody else to
they're
do it.
waiting for somebody else to change the world, or very likely, they're just hunky-dory with everything just the way it is. And they're doubting Thomases, they're scoffers, they're ridiculers. You say something that you really believe from the heart, that's of the red pill nature on social media, and you can bet your ass. You can bet your ass it's going to be like iron filings getting attracted to a magnet. Choom! And they're going to be trolling you, and they're going to be ridiculing and scoffing what you have to say. And then what they do is they wait for, birds of a feather to all flock onto you. It's kind of like Alfred Hitchcock's movie, The Birds. One bird doesn't really successfully peck your eyes out, but 1,000 will. And so I just think that the world has been asleep.
Definitely takes, people have to take charge. I mean, I don't know if this is a correct analogy, but the small town where my kids grew up, okay, big baseball town, okay, typical, over really out of control baseball town. So early in his youth, my son, we got involved, and it just seemed like the coaches were in for the wrong reason. I mean, nobody's really going to the
Coaches were in for their own kids.
Well, for their own kids.
Right.
They weren't really teaching. They spent a lot of time yelling. I mean, this kid's in third or fourth grade. I mean, what are you
Right.
yelling at the kid for?
Yeah.
I mean, one time because he threw to the wrong cutoff guy. I didn't know what cutoff guy to throw to.
Yeah.
I mean, it's ridiculous. So I said,
Right.
you know what? And it just seemed like it was rampant. I said, I'm going to get involved. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and it took a lot of politicking to actually become a coach in the
Baseball.
small town. Yeah, in the small town. So I did that. And I befriended one of my assistant coaches who was a lifetime resident of the town. And I said, what's going on here? Like, why is it? He goes, listen, it used to be when one person was out of control, you know, the coach who's yelling at the sixth grade umpire,
Yeah.
or the other coach who
Right.
picks up second base on a supposed bad call and kicks it into the outfield, the base, you know, those kind of coaches. He goes, we'd run them right out. He
Yeah.
goes, but now it just seems like there's so many of them that the
Yeah.
guys like us, regular guys that just
Yeah.
want to have a good time, we just sit back like, oh, well, I'm not even getting involved with that.
Right.
So, like, we don't have enough to do, you know, working
Right.
12 hours, working 6, 7 days a week. Now we have to get involved.
Well,
And I think
go ahead.
that's probably part of the problem, not only with sports, but in anything. You know, everybody's busy, working 2 jobs, you know, trying to just get by. Oh, and now we have to, you know, go above and beyond. And I think only a chosen few make that leap to go above
It's,
and
it's
beyond.
interesting, that whole issue of, youth sports and, you know, dads and soccer moms and all of that
Oh.
stuff. Um,
Please.
I wonder which is more damaging to society and to individual psyches. Is it the is it the brilliant academic that's got a massive ego? Turn that person loose and look out. Then you've got sorry, guys. Then you've got Bill Gates on your hands,
Yeah.
right? Very intelligent guy, massive ego. Turn him loose, and look out. All of a sudden, you got 300 or 400 million acres of farmland, slowly, basically consumed by him. You've got an iPhone and whatnot, or a Microsoft system that's got everybody under surveillance. He's deleterious on a global level. He has no business in healthcare. But then there's the pea brain, who's got an ugly, massive ego, and that's the guy who's your little league baseball coach. And I relay a story in my book early on about how I was the home run leader in the league. And I had 3 home runs in one game, and one was a game-winning grand slam. And come time for the All-Star game, I was on whatever team, East, West, who knows. Long time ago, I think I was 10, and my whole family came to watch the game. The home run leader, maybe he hit a home run in the All-Star game. They didn't put me in, but for like the bottom of the ninth when we were winning easily, and the coaches had their kids in the entire game. And that's something I'll never forget. And I vowed to my dad I'll never play baseball again.
See.
But everything happens for a reason. So, yeah, I was good to my word to my dad. I'll never play baseball again. And he just said, yeah, yeah, like, wow. And so, baseball season was the same as track season. I had a rifle arm, and I was quick and fast and strong. And so I became a discus thrower on the track team, and then I was state champion and a record breaker. Okay. Those coaches that destroyed me as a 10-year-old pushed me through another doorway that ended up being beneficial for me. But, I don't know which is more deleterious. Probably both. They're just on different levels. The intelligent, educated, scientific egotist, or the idiot that wants to control a bunch of 8-year-olds on a baseball field. I was a little league umpire for 2 years.
God bless you.
And well, let me tell you what.
That had to scar you at some level.
Woo, I still remember it. And I had fathers that were coaches that rushed me with the look of murder in their eye. And, and I, even though I was a teenager, I was completely convinced that if I just threw a left hook and a right cross, these guys that were in their 30s and 40s would be laid out. And I'll never forget, the greatest example of their idiocy. There was a game that was going into, I don't know what it was, the 5th inning. The dark clouds came in, the sky was black. lightning, thunder, boom, boom. I said, oh, that's it. We're out of here. You know, all I needed was for somebody to get hit by lightning. They wanted to kill me. They reported me to the league. It's like I got a letter in the mail from the president of the Little League Baseball League calling me in that they had to discuss the rules of inclement weather and threat. I was like, are you guys crazy? That was the last year I was a baseball umpire.
Wow, that is crazy. You know, you like I compare coaching to teaching. Two things that you have to really be in it for the right reasons. If you're in it to feed your own ego or your son or daughter's ego, you're going to hurt so many people
Yeah.
along the way. And you're
Yeah.
going to embarrass yourself and your family, especially if you live in a small town. You should never ever have a selfish attitude when it comes to coaching or teaching.
Right.
You're giving your time. Yes, it's volunteer, and you know some people don't appreciate it. You're a glorified babysitter until they can run around. But you know what? You can teach a kid through coaching sports so many more things about respect, about how to work together, about when things look glum, and you struck out or you dropped a touchdown pass or you didn't put the puck in the net. Guess what? You have another chance in next shift, another chance in next inning. You always can strive and keep moving forward, and that's what you should be teaching kids at any level, especially when they're so young. I mean, we make a big deal now about these teachers and what they're teaching our kids when they're young. What about take it onto the fields with the boys and girls, what they're teaching our kids, And it's not, I shouldn't say it's all coaches, but I do see a lot of it. I mean,
Yeah.
and hockey, your son and daughter were involved in hockey.
Oh,
My son was involved with travel hockey, and let me tell you, that is on another level. That
Yeah.
altogether, And I used to tell my parents that I coached any of their kids. Let me tell you how many kids are going to the NFL. Let me tell you how many kids are going to Major League
Yeah.
Baseball. Who's going to the NHL or the NBA? All right,
what's the name of that book? Outliers?
Outliers, was that it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so.
So you're less 0.1% of all the kids that play. I mean, how many kids are going to play in college, John? I mean, you were a college athlete.
Yeah, okay, Division III.
Okay, but still,
Right.
to devote yourself as a college athlete takes a very big commitment.
Well, I loved it. I loved what I was doing.
Yeah, there's a lot going on once you hit that,
Oh, yeah.
that age where forget about the workload in school. Maybe you have to have a job. There's the social aspect of once you get to college. But after that, I mean, I tip my hat to any athlete, but especially a college athlete, because you literally are doing it for the love, like you did at distance.
Yeah, absolutely. I knew I wasn't going to the Olympics from a Division III track and field team, but I loved what I did, and I wasn't ready to let it go.
Would you say your father was your best coach? He had athletic experience.
The answer to that is no. My father was my inspiration.
Okay.
My father was a football coach and a wrestling coach and a track coach.
Mhm.
And I would go to all of the Nutley High School track meets and football games and whatnot. And honestly, my best coach was me
Okay.
because I went after it with everything I had. I went to the public library. I took out books. I remember writing away to a company at the back of a magazine for a loop tape on some discus thrower and shot. I think it was Brian Oldfield, on how to do the spin better. But of course, Brian Oldfield was, what was he, 6'4", 280,
Massive,
juiced
massive.
up on steroids. It
Yeah.
didn't really matter what technique he was using.
Yeah, that
Right.
foot or that plate was going to go. That's for sure.
Right.
But look at all the lessons you learned from a good experience with athletics.
Oh,
You
yeah.
found yourself. I mean, it could be great. And
But my
that's,
dad was my inspiration.
Okay.
That's the point.
and that goes coaching, like I said, hand in hand with teaching. I mean, teaching is so important. I mean, especially when the kids are at a young age. You got to get them to like coming to school. Like to me, history is one of the most fascinating subjects there is.
Yeah.
Because it actually happened. And it's pretty amazing. And I don't understand how a history teacher can almost make you fall asleep in that class. Like, how could you not come in here and say, hey, listen, this was what was at stake. This is what happened. This is what they did about it. I mean, it's unbelievable, you know. And yet, you know, sometimes.
I'm laughing because I remember a particular history teacher in high school.
Yeah.
No names named.
No, please.
And he did the same thing every day in class. And it used to just, no pun intended, blow my mind. He would get up there and strut back. And he was a great guy. I really loved him. He was great. He was a great teacher. He was a good guy. He wasn't one of those guys that made you feel like he had favorites in the classroom, like some of the math teachers in the high school did. I hated their class, no names named. Yet other math teachers were wonderful, right? But this history teacher, every day, in the middle of history class, he would pull out an old cloth handkerchief, and he would go, "Ah, ah," and then he would do this with it. He would unfold it,
Expose.
and then he would fold it,
Wow.
fold it, fold it, flip it, boink, back in the pocket, and never miss a beat with his lecture. And how do you pay attention to the lecture after that?
Here it comes.
It's like, wow.
Yeah.
I think this was before the era of paper towels.
Wow, that's amazing. Did you have a teacher, John, in grammar school, middle school, or high school, or college
Mhm.
that really made an impression on you? Like really?
What kind of impression?
Yeah. Well, a positive impression.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Remember the lunchroom monitor? Was one of the math teachers?
Yes, I do. We'll tell a story because I ran into that math teacher.
Seriously?
Yeah, yeah.
Like years after high school?
The one that told me if he ever saw me on the other side of the tracks,
Yeah.
yeah, it was going to be over for me. Well,
He was going to give you a heave.
yeah, well, yeah, he didn't heave anything.
Right.
I kind
Right.
of was ready to heave him at that point.
Oh yeah.
10 years later. But
Yeah.
I mean, talk about educators. But did you have any that really? No names, but
Well, there are people who I felt just inherently, I felt close to in a familial level. I felt close to our track coach,
okay,
okay?
yeah, good guy.
I felt close
Both of
to
them.
the assistant track coach,
Both good
Right.
guys. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
and I felt close to the varsity football coach. Not the second one that came along, but the original one.
Oh yeah.
You know, I'm going to say his name because he's passed and I love him, and my father knew him, Bill Lupo. God bless him. You know, I had him for gym and stuff, and he used to just crack us up and make us laugh. And I remember I got into a kind of a two-punch knockout fight freshman year. Somebody threw a sucker punch at me playing flag football, and bango, I had been practicing in my garage on a garage door spring, heavy bag like that, and I knew I was going to get picked on for some reason. I felt it coming, and this guy throws all sorts of slurs at me, throws a sucker punch. I reflexively, muscle memory, dip under it, pow, right here, out. Mr. Lupo goes, Jesus Christ, Galucci, you're trying to get me fired. Get over here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, hey, I was defending myself,
Yes.
but good old Mr. Lupo was terrific.
He
I'm
was
going
a
to
good
say
guy. He
George
was unique.
Jenkins and rest his soul, Bill Lupo, and rest his soul, Mike Geltrude.
Three of the best.
I love them. That doesn't mean I didn't love the other people. Mr. Lynch, the coach of the baseball team, I loved him. He was never my coach, you know, and he would look at me. He would look at me during baseball practice because his outfielders were within the discus sector, and I was throwing the discus, and it was landing like right around them, and it's like he would look at me and go like this. He was a great guy too.
Yeah, he was a good guy.
There's a lot of people to pick from. Remember Mr. Klein, the art teacher? I love Mr. Klein.
Yeah, he was a good guy.
Yeah,
He was a good guy.
Mr. Cairns, God bless him.
Oh, yeah.
He's still on Facebook, I think. I haven't seen him or anything,
Wow.
but a lot of people.
I can
like a
honestly
lot.
say I don't have any recollection of any student, I mean, any teacher that really inspired me or pushed me.
Yeah, Mrs. Mertz. Remember, she was
Oh yeah, she was a sweetheart. I
Right.
mean, there's a lot of nice ones. I mean, they were just trying to
Judy
do,
Mertz.
They were just
Yeah.
trying to do a job.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, it is a special job though. I mean, when you're molding, listen, our parents had us in the morning and at night, of course overnight, but for 8 hours a day, you're in school and you're being molded, whether you like it or not. But back then it was really just about reading, writing, and arithmetic. There was no extra sexual CRT or any gender
Well,
bending or
I
anything.
have to admit, I don't know a lot about that stuff. I
Mm.
really don't. I got friends of mine that are teachers that I'm sure know a lot about it, but I don't, just because it's not something that's been around for 5 or 6 or 8 years, I don't think. And I've had kind of my plate full, but I'll catch up on that stuff. But I really truly don't know
Yeah.
enough about it to open my
Well, it
mouth
was
about
pretty
it.
much just a basic, we just went there with our books and that's what you did. There was no
I can't remember.
social experience
I
about it.
can't remember in health class in high school. I just have no memory of a section on human sexuality at all. That's in high school.
I remember. Yeah, I'm not going to say the story, but yeah, I remember how it played.
Don't say
Yeah,
it. Okay.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's when things were innocent. But it's such an important job when you're molding young children. Take an interest, be a positive, could be a positive or negative, your messaging is so important,
Right.
you
And
know.
I'm going to just say this because I think it's going to be a setup and a segue to our alchemization and blessing at the end of this episode. I think that when people go to sleep, whether you're a blue pillar or a red pillar, when you go to sleep and you hand to other people or to agencies the job of raising your kids or educating your kids, you'd better be all over it. And if everything we've gone through hasn't taught you that you need to be all over that issue, then what happens is the weeds grow in that field that you tilled and planted your vegetable crops, your pay crop. The weeds come in and choke out the crops, right? So at the risk of having another video torpedoed,
Mm.
um, learn a lesson from what's going on, people. Learn a lesson. If you go to sleep and you delegate or relegate the raising of your kids to a village or to an agency or to the state or to the government, you will pay a terrible, severe price for that. You don't want that, because then your kids will grow up wearing those boots and they'll be putting it on the necks of other people. And you might think, well, it's okay because then they won't put it on my neck. Oh, yes, they will. Somebody will. So don't fall into that trap. Don't, you know, the old Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young song, teach your children well. Teach your children well. If you don't imprint upon the hearts and minds of your kid by the time they're 6 years old, then the state owns your kids. They'll co-opt them. The fathers are out of the house because they're trying to work to make money. Now the mothers are out of the house because they're working and they have their careers. And then who's raising your kids? The teachers union? Sorry. Homie's not buying that bullshit.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's a lot that
Well,
happens.
because then what happens is all sorts of shit starts to creep into the curriculum from some academic douchebag. And how does it slip in there? It's high-end academic peer pressure. That's what it is. And all of a sudden, they're teaching kids from K to 3 about shit that shouldn't be imprinted in their brains, especially not by some person at the front of the classroom. And if we say any more about that, this video will get torpedoed like another recent video. And I don't want that to happen. So lay the fuck off.
Do you know there's some schools, John, that feed, we used to get lunch.
Should have used my beeper.
Oh, yeah.
Too late.
That feed children 3 times a day: breakfast, lunch, and they give them an after-school meal, a dinner. And I think that's pretty sad to do that for a whole school. I mean, that there's that many people that nobody's around to, fix them a meal when they get home, or nobody's around to pick them up till like 6 o'clock. I mean, it's a real travesty when that happens.
It is. It is. It is. And that's kind of, yeah. There's a lot that's wrong with our society. There's a lot that's wrong. And I think that, I have family members that really, really, really disparage what I would call the consequences of capitalism. I've said for years that capitalism is being perpetrated without accountability, without responsibility or accountability. And maybe that's just as bad as communism or socialism without accountability or responsibility. Either way, it's up to us. It's up to you guys. You guys out there in podcast land, it's up to you guys to not fall asleep. And I know it's so difficult because you have all to do but to do your jobs, to bring home the paycheck, to keep your household going. I understand that. We're not removed from that at all, so, but you can't fall asleep. And I think that's part of the business plan of the global elites, is to keep the mothers and fathers so harried and so exhausted. Listen, if a single hyena approached a mother rhinoceros who was protecting its baby, that single hyena hasn't got a chance. But when there's 10 hyenas and they're circling the mother rhinoceros, and they've made it circle and spin and chase and charge and lunge, after an hour and a half of that, it's so exhausted it falls to the ground, and then the hyenas devour the baby. It's no different, people. It's no different. It's no different. So, all right, it's time to alchemize this mess.
Please do.
I don't think we went too dark today.
No.
We could really go deep dark, but you know what? We learned the hard way: when you get a video torpedoed because they don't like what you've said, they don't like what you've said. Yeah. Then you're a little bit gun shy and you're a little bit gentle and you're less edgy. Well, I refuse to let that happen. Okay, so we're going to do our best here. So anyway, I'm going to go into a prayer. Okay, this prayer is meant for all of the moms and dads out there that are exhausted, that are harried, that are spun around by the hyenas of the world. Teach your children well, and don't let your children be raised by the village, because it ain't gonna end well. Oh Lord, hear my prayer, hear our prayer. I pray to you, bestow peace, love, and the wherewithal upon parents all over the world to hold their children close and to not fall asleep. Jesus even says in the New Testament, never sleep, never, never, never go to sleep. Always remain awake and alert. God bless you all. Raise your children, teach your children well. Amen.
Amen. Well said, Johnny. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. If you like what we're doing, press the like button down below. Give us a subscription. Easy for me to say. And see you next time on the Jersey Alchemist. Peace.